Hello everyone, I'm Michael Serapio. The Bloc Québécois says it will make good on its threat and start negotiating today to bring the Trudeau government down. Now, 5 weeks ago, Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet said if Liberals wanted to avoid an election before Christmas, the government would have to meet two demands. First, expand old age security top-ups to everyone over the age of 64, and second, to safeguard the supply management system in any future trade negotiation. But no guarantees were given on either of those priorities, so Blanchet says now is the time to bring about an early election.
If before they fall, they give us all we have asked under the terms that we have described, we don't have a choice but to take it. But we are not negotiating anything as we speak. We are negotiating with opposition parties in order to have the government be
So that will mean your support as well?
Well, with more now on the Bloc's plan, we're joined by Christine Normandin, Deputy House Leader for the Bloc Québécois. Madame Normandin, thank you for joining us again.
It's always a pleasure, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you on. Listen, I want to begin here with the letter that your House Leader, Alain Tanian, shared with members of the Commons, because in that letter, and this is the translation, he says that the Bloc will support motions of no confidence and vote against the government during confidence votes. So support, but if you really believe that the Bloc really believes now is the time to work and bring this government down, why not introduce a motion of non-confidence yourself?
Well, one of the reasons is that there's no real ways to do it for us now, since we've run through our opposition days motion, so it will have to come from somewhere else. So there's no way for us to bring a motion on the floor of the House, and that's why we'll be working with oppositions, which we'd have to be doing anyways. Even if it were our own motion, we'd still have to work with other parties in order for having it passed. But it couldn't come from us, as we've used the motions we already had.
Okay, so looking to support instead of introducing your own, but you also add this proviso, or at least Monsieur Tanian adds this proviso, that you will vote against the government in matters of confidence, provided they are presented in a manner consistent with Quebec interests. So does that mean to say then that you will not always be voting against the government?
Well, it will depend on what the other parties bring as motions, for example. If we were to have the same exact motions that we had from the Conservatives the first time, just a motion, very simple and clear, intending to topple the government, we'd vote for it. But if there's something in it that kind of poisons it, well then, two things. We couldn't vote against what we are. For example, if the motion contains something against language, against secularism of the state, something against environment, which we've seen with carbon tax election motions, well, we'd have to vote against it because it would be voting against what we are. And the thing is, if the Conservatives did that, we would question the real intentions they have in toppling the government. So I think we've made it pretty clear. The motion has to be simple and acceptable by all parties as well, because if it's not only us, if the Conservatives were to write down a motion with regards to carbon tax, maybe not only the Bloc wouldn't be interested in supporting it.
Mm-hmm. So my extrapolation from that then is that while you are wanting to bring the government down, and say you're working towards it right now, you are still going to be very critical of any motion that comes up from another opposition party. But does that mean to say the door is open to working with the government still on other issues?
Well, if we were to work with the government on other issues, it would have nothing to do with motion, because the motion obviously wouldn't come from the government itself, or it'd be surprising at least. But we've sent clear messages so far that we'd be working with the oppositions, and now the ball is in their camp. I don't know if it translates well, but they know what we'd be voting with. So it's rather simple to present something that's consistent with it, and they have already done so. And with regards to the government, well, we've reached the end of the ultimatum. They had 5 weeks. in order to provide us with what we ask, and not only us, on both OAS and the supply management bill. We've had support from all parties, at least on committee level, and we have a support from the population that's 75% and higher on both motions. So it'd be working against not only the Bloc but the population itself. So we gave the government plenty of time, and they haven't done nothing, and that sends a clear message.
Sends a clear message. Now, we did hear from Karina Gould, the government House leader, and she said negotiations are still ongoing behind closed doors. But Yves-François Blanchet seemed to say that he's not open to any type of negotiation. It has to be everything or nothing. So can you give some clarity? Are there still discussions being had behind closed doors?
Well, we kind of switched from conversations with the government to conversations with the opposition parties. So it's clear now, since we've reached the end of the ultimatum, that if the government were to come with something at the table, it would have to be everything or nothing. We wouldn't go for compromises, which we didn't really intend to do neither at some point, maybe in the means or in the ways to bring something, but it was clear that we wouldn't sell off the bills that we had. If there's a way for them to make them pass prior to a confidence vote, we won't wait for them the way we did. That was the ultimatum, giving them some time. Now time is passed. If there's a confidence motion tomorrow, well, too bad for them. They will be the ones responsible for their own fall. But if they come with something, we couldn't vote against what's good for Quebec and for Canadians, for that matter, with regards to OAS and supply management. We have to vote for it, but time has run off for the government. So it would have to be everything on the table or nothing, and rather fast, because now they have they have a big win coming in front of them, and we're kind of working against them now, which is the difference. We weren't doing so before the ultimatum.
So as you say, it has to be all or nothing, and most definitely there are no more negotiations, no more talking between you, your government House leader, your leader, behind closed doors with the Liberals.
We're working with the opposition parties, as we clearly stated we'd be doing. If they want to come and if they offer something, we'll see it. But it's not negotiations. It would have to be something very clear that would just provide us with exactly what we wanted. So there's no real openings for negotiations, and it's all because of them. They had 5 weeks to start maybe asking for different things that we could have said yes, could have said no. But now, as soon as there is an opposition motion, a vote of no confidence, we'd vote with in order to topple the government. So the time has run off, and it's all their fault.
Time has run out, as you say. But you know, as you do those negotiations, we already know that the NDP say, while they are ready for an election, they say now is not the time to actually trigger one. So how meaningful is your threat without the NDP? Because you need them to topple this government.
And it will, of course, be their decision. We cannot force them to vote with us, but that would be a political price for them to pay. After tearing the agreement they had with the government and making and be very vocal about it, they'd be voting with the government and against the elderly and the farm workers. There'd be maybe it would feel like a bit of a sell-off if they did support the government once again. So there would be a political price to pay with that. It's all up to them, but still, I think it would look bad on them, and they most likely know it.
Just so you know, Normandin, I always appreciate the time. Thank you for this.
It's a pleasure.